Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. If you want to see how I achieved this look, just continue watching the next clip of the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share with a friend. Everything that I use will be listed down below. I'm going to be showing you how to properly prep your skin for your makeup application. This is my particular way on doing it for my skin. Do what works for you. First, you want to start off with a freshly washed face, which I already did. Wash your hands, which I already did. Now I'm going to go in with a serum. I already toned and everything. And the serum I'm going to go in with is a Hydra serum. And I'm just going to take a few little drops, probably like 2 drops. Depends on how the serum is. I like to rub it on my hands, and then to make sure that I get it all over my face. Then I'm going to go in with my SPF. And with the SPF, I do 1 little drop. And with the kind that I use, a little goes a long way. I like to go on top of my eyes, not really that much underneath. Everything that I'm using will be listed down below. The next product you want to go in with is your moisturizer. I have 2 different moisturizers that I'm gonna be using. One is Nivea Soft and another one is Nivea Cream. I'm gonna go in with the Nivea Soft first. If you have combination skin, you don't necessarily have to put any moisturizer on your nose if your makeup gets really oily right there. I do, only because if I don't, it's gonna look super dry. Just like if I don't properly moisturize, my skin's gonna look dry. Now I'm taking whatever is left and I'm adding it underneath my eyes so that underneath my eyes is fully hydrated. You wanna make sure you blend all of that in before moving on to your next step. Then I'm going in with the cream. Now the cream is a little bit thicker, so if you have oily skin, I recommend using a real little bit of this. Since I have dry skin, I use a generous amount. I'm not putting this on my nose because whatever is left over, that will go on to my nose. And if you notice that it's super white when you add it, that means you added too much, and it's gonna be a while before you fully blend it into your skin. But kind of like take your time unless you're in a rush. With me, I'm not in a rush, so I'm not going to rush any steps. If you feel like your face still needs some type of moisturizer, add a little more. I mainly get dry in my cheek area, not necessarily my chin, but my cheek area. That's why I added more, and I just added more to my chin because I didn't feel like it was enough down there. And you instantly get this glow and shine. Now I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, and then I'm going to go in with my primer. Now with primers, if you have dry skin, I recommend you use a hydrating primer. Especially like me, I have very dry skin, so I try to use any type of hydrating primers that I can, if I use primers at all. Not all the time I use primers. I know some people may say it's bad, but hey, as long as you moisturize really good, you don't necessarily, in my opinion, have to. Don't take that as, oh, she said don't use primers. Use what work for you. I'm telling you what worked for me, so use what worked for you. The primer that I'm gonna go in with is the Milk Hydro Primer, Hydro Grip, excuse me. And with this particular primer, you don't need a lot. 1 pump is good enough, maybe a pump and a half, just depends. But for me, 1 pump is good enough. And I do the same exact steps. I like to rub it onto my hand, add it to those same areas, and then just rub it in all over my face. Now with this, let it sit for a few minutes before going in with any type of makeup application, because you want to make sure that it does exactly what it says it's going to do, which is grip. Okay, so now that we have that finished, which I feel very hydrated, very dewy, very glowy, that's what you want. Now with my brows, since you did add a lot of products on, you don't necessarily have to do this step. For me, I do, because I don't want my brows to be slipping and sliding everywhere. Just take a little bit of powder, and I'm only doing my brows. I'm not going nowhere else with this. And as you can see the difference between my brows, this one is matte now versus this one. And I'm just going to lightly dust over it, add more if needed, and I'm just going in with the setting powder, just making sure that that area is nice and, you know, matte. Now for the brows, you have two different options. You can use a brow pencil or you can use a pomade. It just depends on how you want your brows to look. For me, for today, I'm going to use the pencil, and I may go in a little bit with the pomade. So I like to brush my brows upward, and then when I get to the back, brush them downward. I have a natural arch that obviously I have to shave off, because if not, it'll be super pointy and it looks crazy. So you like go in. I like to lift my brows up. You don't necessarily have to, but lift them up. I used to start in the beginning, or in the front, excuse me, but I'm going to start like right here and go backwards. Very light. You don't want to go too heavy. You kind of want to stay directly above, directly under your brows. I like to follow my natural, my natural brows, making my lines as straight and crisp as I possibly can, and just connecting those lines together. Don't worry about if they're not 100% crisp, because you can fix it with concealer, but you don't want to purposely mess them up. And I'm going to just add a little there and see if you like them, and then fill them in. Now again, you can fill them in with the pomade or you can fill them in with the pencil. I'm gonna fill it in with the pencil by just lightly filling it in. You want your brows to be not too dark, but more natural than anything. I used to do them with the pomade, and I feel like the pomade that I use is a little bit on the darker side, so that's why my brows used to look black, when really I'm using like a dark brown. So if you can, try to go a shade lighter than what you used to if you feel like it's looking more on the black side. That's just the option. Then at the front, I'm just going to very lightly draw a line to connect it, not going past that point just yet. Do the same over here. Your brows are supposed to be sisters, not twins, but you do want them to be as close as possible, at least, so you can have, less to clean up, in my opinion. You obviously do what works for you. You can always take whatever you see a makeup artist do, and you can make it your own. That's what I learned to do over the few years that I have been doing makeup. If you haven't seen the video where I talked about how I started doing makeup, I will list that in the iCard right here. And like I said, I was not into makeup at all. Hair and nails have always been something that I really loved. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Lightly go up. And I don't know why my hairs on this brow, you can see them more than you can on that side. I never understood that. And I made it a little dark over here on accident, so I'm just gonna go ahead and darken that a little bit. Now, my brows are not finished as of yet. And I'm just gonna add a little lines. Take my spoolie through, and I'm just gonna brush upward, just to blend everything. And that also will let you know where you need to add more product. Like back here, I need a little bit more product. And I like to brush very light. You don't want to brush hard that it's like scraping the product away. Product out. And again, concealer will fix anything that you missed or messed up, so don't really worry about that too much. I am using the Makeup Forever number 55, and I also have a Wet n Wild one. Also, that's close to my skin tone. You don't necessarily have to use these particular ones. You can use different ones, but this is what I use. Since I'm the only one that uses this product, I am going to use the wand that comes with it. And I used to go all the way up to my brows, and then I used to have like that really heavy line underneath, and I didn't like the way that looked because it kind of smudged the product and messed up my line a little bit. You guys probably couldn't tell, but I'm a perfectionist and I can. So now I'm just going in slightly beneath and getting as close as I can without getting super close, because I'm gonna use a brush to get even closer. Now with brushes, you want to use a flat brush, flattest you can get it. This one comes like this. This is a Wet n Wild one. This one I had for a while, so I don't know the number of this one. I actually bought this one probably when I first started doing makeup, and the Wet n Wild ones were the only brushes that I had at that time, and I got the Wet n Wild brushes from Dollar Tree. Yes, you heard me correctly, Dollar Tree. But and you see how now when I move that product up, it's not like too heavy underneath the brows. And if you need more, you can add more, but you always want to be careful and make that line as crisp as you can. I try to for the most part. And as you can see, I need a little bit more. And you can add this to the back of your hand, or if you have a little palette that you like to use, so that you don't mess up the back of your hand, because sometimes if it's product on the back of your hand, you can touch your clothes and stain your clothes, especially if you already have on the outfit that you're going to be wearing for the day, like I do. So you just want to get as close as possible. You can take your beauty blender or a brush. I'm going to use my beauty blender. Sorry, my lashes either curled downward. I forgot to blend this one up. Good thing about this concealer is it dries down fast, but not too fast, so you still have time that you can work with it. That's why I like to do one eye at a time, for reasons like this. You never know when an eyelash can get in your eye, or you know, anything like that. Okay, now take my beauty blender just to blend it out a little bit more, and I am going to try to get as close to underneath my lashes as possible, not lashes, excuse me, underneath my brow as I possibly can without actually touching my brow, just like that. Now with the top, you can use the same concealer. Most people like at the bottom to use a lighter concealer, and then at the top either don't conceal at all or use the same concealer as the skin tone. And another thing you can use is your foundation. Me personally, since this is not too far off from my foundation, that's why I just go ahead and use this. We do the same techniques as you did below. And I try not to add too much concealer because you'll be blending forever. Blending is key though, so don't be scared. Now with this, I like to just take it, kind of blend it outward just a little bit, and then make a straight line. I know some people like to, you know, not talk when doing this step. With me, I don't really care, because at the end of the day, you know, if I mess up, I can always just either start again. So I'm just taking it, blending it out, and then making that line as crispy as I can, and try not to mess it up, especially if you're on a time crunch. I'm not on a time crunch, so if I just happen to mess up, then I can go back and fix it. But if you're on a time crunch, please take your time. Now with that, see if you like it, if they look alike. They look like sisters. I am missing a few little hairs right there when I was making those little light strokes, very lightly, not too heavy. And I'm going to take the blender again, because when I go to add my foundation, I don't want to see a heavy harsh line. And whatever is there, make sure I'm blending down in that center, because when I go to highlight, this obviously is not the color that I'm going to be using. Okay, And you see, now I'm going to go in with my foundation. Some people like to go in with concealer first and then foundation. I like to do foundation. Now you can spot conceal, which normally I probably would for these particular marks, but for today's purposes, I'm not, because I want to show you how this foundation is going to look. Uh-oh, I might have to spot conceal. I think I'm out of my foundation. It don't want to pump out. It's barely giving me one full pump, but let's see what we have and we'll go off of if we need to make, if we need to add another one. I'll go get another. I have a brand new one. I just want to make sure that this one is completely done before I just go open up another foundation for no reason. And I like to just put it on the back of my hand and make little spots all over my face. Again, you don't have to. And then take my brush and just stipple it onto my face. And while I'm doing this, making sure that I'm moving that product around and buffing that into my neck as well, because you want your neck to be the same as your face. So it's best when you're looking for foundation, excuse me, that you either go off of the color of your neck or strictly the color of your face. Me personally, I do both, but for the most part, I do my face because mostly my face is going to get covered with the foundation anyway, or my face is similar to my neck area. I know some makeup artists at Sephora like to, now I want to come out right, boy, I tell you. Some makeup artists at Sephora like to go off of the back of your hand. Some of them like to do swatches going to your face. If you don't feel comfortable with a product, and this is not just Sephora, this is other companies as well, you don't feel comfortable with a foundation or concealer shade, ask for a sample. And they'll give you a little sample size that come in like a little container like this. Matte containers are slightly bigger, but you get not that much product, and that way you can test out whether you like the foundation that they gave you or not, or if it's even the right shade. Don't be afraid to ask for samples. I know a few people that I talked to didn't even know that you could get samples and stuff, and yes, they're not going to just offer it to you. You have to ask. Some people will just offer it to you. It just really depends. And whatever is left on my brush, which is basically nothing, I'm just going to add that to my nose area. And I'm just going to continue to blend this out. And I'm just doing slightly circular motions, but I'm not doing too heavy that it wipes everything that I've done off. Excuse me, wipe everything that I've done off. And see if you like the coverage. If you don't, add more, because this foundation is buildable. But for me, it's fine. If my dark spots show, it's fine. But if my dark spots, just like this one, happen to show in the little ones up here, instead of going in with more foundation, I'm going to do my concealer. And this is a Clear and Cover Blemish Concealer. And you see how that just disappeared? Do just a little bit there. Now this concealer, you cannot, I repeat, cannot put nowhere near under your eyes. This is not that type of concealer. Even if you have dark circles, please don't put it nowhere near under your eyes. This is far enough. Anywhere up in here, no. And I'm just continuing to blend that out. Now you can go in with your sponge to make sure that it's really blended. Me personally, I don't go in with my sponge. Again, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but as of lately I have not. But I am making sure before moving on that is blended. And considering I still have my dark spots showing, I'm just going to add a few of these. Oh, I'm so sorry about the birds, but it's nothing I can do about that. And just blend that out. And if you have any other spots that you feel like you want to hide or conceal, whatever, however you want to do it, add more. I don't really need more, so I'm not. Now the concealer underneath my eyes, I'm going in with a shade that is not my color, but not too, and it's not that light, but it's enough. And I just like to go down towards my nose area and kind of blend it out just a little bit. With concealers, a little goes a long way. I know some people like to use a lot, and this may even seem like a lot, but you know, again, do what works for you, please. Before I do the center of my face, I'm going to make sure I blend this out because I don't want this to dry, because I don't know how it dries. Now for this step, I am going to be using a makeup wedge that I'm going to spray just a little bit of mist just to get it damped, not necessarily wet. You can use your sponge or a brush. I'm just going to use this, and I'm just lightly blending it out. Now I have, as y'all can see, bags under my eyes because I can't seem to fall asleep on time. No matter what I try, it just have not been working lately. So, and that's also, you know, another thing that I kind of like to cover and hide, but if it shows, it shows. But not too much. And as y'all can see, the difference that makes. I should have did one at a time so y'all can see. It's not too bright or highlighted under there, but it's light enough that I could, you know, get away with. Now with this, I like to add just a little bit more just to make sure that everything is covered. But I think I like this coverage so far, so I am going to leave it just the way that it is. And before I go in with my powder, I am going to do the center and blend that out, and then go back under my eyes to blend some more just to make sure that that doesn't sit for too long. Again, you might want to go in with a lighter concealer if you want that really highlighted look. Me personally, this is fine. And now, with this part of your face, especially when it comes to your brows, please be careful because you don't want all that work you just did to go to waste. And I think I just touched just a little bit, but I'm gonna fix it. But you don't want to go to waste. Me personally, like, I don't even necessarily have to have any highlight on, honestly, but I do love the way that it looks. And down the center of my nose, I'm just going to take my sponge and just keep going back and forth until that is blended. And go under my eyes yet again before going in with that powder, just to make sure that it's not creasing under there, even though it's going to crease regardless, but I want to make sure that it's not going to crease a lot. Go in with my powder using that same wedge, and I like to use a powder that's close to my skin tone. You can use whatever powder that you want. I try to use a powder that is not too mattifying, even though all powders are matte, mattifying, excuse me, but they do have, like the one that I use for my brows, that one is a what is it called? Hydrating or something, but it's not really a hydrating powder. In my opinion, there's no such thing. That's just my opinion because I have not found one yet. Like that one does not, if I use that under my eyes, I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, it's like super dewy. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Now with the powder, yes, this is not enough powder. I am going to add more, but I wanted to add it that way first. Now I'm going to take my sponge, and it is damped, and also get under the eyes, as well as on top of my lids, even though you did not add concealer to the lids, but that's fine for me. I mean, not concealer, excuse me. Well, yeah, concealer or primer, but that's fine for me, only because I'm not going to be going in super heavy with eyeshadows anyway. I think I did too much on this side. And it's okay to really press that powder in. I don't want to get it up there, but press it in. Like, don't be afraid, but don't press too hard because it is your eye. The same spots that I added highlight, I'm gonna use a different powder for now. I'm going to do a kind of like a, I think they call it like a reverse highlight, and I should have used the other powder for this step, but it's fine. Okay, now for the other parts of my face, I am going to use the lighter powder. You don't have to do this, this is optional. And I'm going to now contour. Now with the contour, I use a bronzer. What did I do with the brush? I really don't know. So with the bronzer, I like to go onto my nose. And basically connect it. And I don't like to go too heavy with my bronzer. Sometimes it looks that way, but it's not intentional. It's literally a mistake, but sometimes it works. It just depends. And to give the illusion of your lip being a little bigger, if you like me and don't have big lips, add a little bit under there. And then as far as contouring part, just add a little bit. I can't really see that good on that side, so hopefully it's on there. Okay, it is. It's showing. That's just me. And another tip you can do to make that stand out even more, grab a lighter powder. Obviously that's not you don't have to do this particular step. I don't do it all the time, but I can say the few times that I have done it, I do like the way it makes, excuse me, my face look. Now with the contour, I'm going to take a brush upward. Blend, blend, blend. What's they say? What's the saying? When in doubt, blend it out. You don't want it to be just sitting there. Now with the rest of that powder, I'm going to take a powder that's close to my skin tone, but not too close. And I'm just lightly patting that all over to set my whole entire face out. Now, make sure I blend the contour on my nose out. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh my goodness. And I'm just gonna lightly go over my nose with that powder. Yes, the light one. And dust it off with the other one. And if you feel like it's too much or too light right there, go back in with your contour. Don't add nothing else back onto the brush. Just go back in very lightly. And then blend that out. Again, this is optional. You do not have to do that. And I like to make sure that my nose contour is completely blended. Now, eyeshadows. Eyeshadow, I'm going a little basic. It's not exactly like what I got on, but it's the closest thing to it. And this is my transition color, and I just blend that out, add more when needed. And before I move on, I'm making sure that it's completely blended. Okay. Now I am going to go in just a little bit with the brown that I used to contour. Again, just a little bit on the outer V. And you can continue to switch back and forth with colors. I don't want it to be too much of a dark color back there, but I want it to be enough that, you know, those colors blend perfect. You see, it's not too dark, but you can tell it's something there, but not too much. Now I'm going to go back in with that coral shade. Just to bring that back to life, and then continuing to blend those two colors together to do highlight. And just give it a nice little glitter to it, but still making sure that, you know, those colors blend together. Okay. Please blend your colors out. Like, don't just have them just sitting there. And I'm going back in with that coral. Make sure there's no harsh lines. Okay. I'm gonna go back in with that bronzer color. Sorry for the glare from the bronzer. Mirror. And before I do that, let me finish my brows because they're not done. Go from the inner corner, fade backwards, and whatever foundation is in the center of your face, which is this part. And you want to do this before you do your powders and stuff, but I 100% forgot. I ain't up front. But you see how it blends. Don't look so, what's the word I'm looking for? It don't look so like, I don't even know, put together, I guess. That's the word I'm looking for, I don't know. Add a little powder so that those brows are not shiny and that they stay put. Again, this step is optional, but it's basically like you're setting your brows. And I like to lightly dust away the excess and go back in with my spoolie to brush those hairs up just to make sure that everything gets fine up there. And I left my thing open the whole time. Wow, hopefully it's not. So I'm going to take this big guy, the same powder that I used to dust away the white down here is what I'm using to lightly dust over, you know, my face. Whoops. I should tie my hair up. I normally don't even set my whole entire face. Ain't that crazy? But I don't get super oily only in this area until later. Spray before you spray it on your face. Always spray to test it to make sure that it's not going to mist hard. I love this spray, and so that it's not leaving any harsh water lines on your face. Take the back of your beauty blender. Most of the time you don't have to do this step, but just in case. And blend that out. Okay. Now your eyeliner should be ready, hopefully. And I'm lightly, there we go, much better. Just making little light lines. I don't want my eyeliner to be too heavy today, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. And blend it in. I feel like that's too small, but I don't want it to be super heavy today. Oh, I think it's enough, except for back here. I want to make sure that this is evenly connected. Okay. It's a little heavier than what I wanted to go, but it's fine. Now with the lashes, I have so many favorite mascaras. If y'all want to see a video of that, leave a comment down below and I will make that video. But I like to just go in very light and make sure that every strand is coated and separated and nothing is thick and clumpy. Sometimes I like my lashes to be thick and clumpy, excuse me, and sometimes I don't. It just depends, honestly. But it just depends on what look I'm going for and how bold the eyeshadow is. Now with the bottom, I like that mascara to really show at the bottom. But down there, they might be slightly clumpy, but not on purpose. And I try not to go back in the tube unless it's 100% necessary. At the bottom, I feel like you shouldn't go back in the tube at all because it's going to be adding way too much product on the bottom of your lashes. And that will sometimes get underneath and be on your lid. I mean, not your lid, your under eye. And back here, it might seem like it's a lot of product because I don't know why that back there clumps up together like that. No matter what I do, it's like 4 little lashes that like group together. And they're not bothering me, so hey. But they curl so weird. See? And this mascara, it said it is buildable. I don't build mine personally because I don't feel the necessary need to, but you can. So just in case you want to build it, do the same that you did on that side. Get as close to that lash line as you possibly can. And please try not to put yourself in the eye. If you're not used to putting on liquid mascaras, get the one that comes in like, it looks like a concealer. The tube is like a little brush versus this particular way. I used to get those all the time. And I actually still have a few. I love them. Now the pencil, I'm not comfortable with those nowhere near my eyes for the simple fact that I'm still in Nivea makeup. I mean, a lot of stuff that I do, I am self-taught, so I try, you know, not to overdo it. as far as trying to make it seem like I know everything there is to know, because there's always new techniques and new stuff to learn. Again, you can use bronzer. I'm not tonight. I mean, not today. Excuse me. Go in with the lip gloss of your choice. Two, I'm going to set my face this particular time with my Tarte. Again, Mist. Fan dry or air dry. I'm not going to use my... If you have any suggested videos that you would love to see, just comment them down below. and I will add them to my list. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video as well